All right, people, so the test panels have been done. I've quickly, off camera as well, I have whipped around the car with a variety of polishes, still the microfiber pad, just to make sure. So I just did a quick spot on the doors, the rear bumper, stuff like that, just to make sure that the combination is not going to change. Because obviously plastics, metals have a different heat point and a different dissipation of heat. So obviously plastic holds on to more heat than metals because it's a really good conductor. So everything's still the same. Microfiber pad, development compound, 19.0. Right, so the pad has been primed, it has been blown, so everything's fine. What I'm going to do is, because the pad's still fairly fresh, normally that's the 4 dots, I'm going to go in with 5, combined with my LHR 15 Mark II. I need to get the Mark III, so one dealer is about to get a lot of money from me, so I'm going to buy the Mark III LHR 15. I want one of them new Mark II, is it? Mark IIs of the LHR 75, but the cordless one. I want the Millie, however you pronounce it. So it's a gear-driven alternative by Rupes. So yeah, a couple of grand of machines there waiting. It's just, I don't really need them, but I really want them. So that's my excuse. So this is going to be the machine that does the majority of the work. I love, realistically, if I could, I would polish the whole car with a 3-inch because it's beautiful. I like the balance of the machine a lot better than this, and I can kind of control the pad stickiness or the backing plate stickiness a little bit easier as well. But it would take me 14 weeks, so this is getting deployed. I'm going to start, the plan of action from what I've seen on this car is I'm going to hit it with obviously the LHR 15. I'm then going to run the edges as best as I can with the 3-inch pad, and then where the 3-inch pad doesn't fit, I'm going to flip over to my, I know I'm betraying Rupes here, but the Flex PXC 80, which is cordless. I can go 1, 2 or 3-inch pad. I've actually kind of modified my setup, so on the back end of this there is a 1-inch backing plate, as you can see. But this is a custom cut pad to a 2-inch, so it's actually overhanging a little bit, you can see from the rear. So yeah, that's going to be the method of attack. I'm going to work middle out where I can and utilize the big machine. So let's crack on. So I'm sure you've seen me touch the back of my hand, and that's just to make sure the heat's fine. Obviously keep in mind, especially some of the newer people potentially, you're going to see me polish and think, well, that's not what I've seen on a tutorial video or a how-to video. Obviously I polish through many years of experience, and I adapt to my style. You don't see me do a crisscross pattern. I prefer going one direction. That is me. I get a better focus on what's happening on the paint rather than concentrating on a pretty picture. I concentrate on what the hell I'm actually going to do, which is paint correction. So I like to go in one line. I sometimes alter my pressures on my left hand, that's my leading hand, only because I know you're from a different angle, but right here I've got just the perfect setup of lighting where I could see through the compound if there's a heavier defect somewhere. So I'm just altering. Now look at this party piece. Oh, this is a compound, may I just add. This is not a refine and polish. So you think this is good, wait until you see our development finishing polish. It's sick. So that is the final wipe. I'm going to work with all 3 towels because I can, and I'm going to show you that even during the harsher stages, it can be utilized very effectively. Now what I have noticed, there is right here, There is a deep mark that is unremovable. I know that for a fact by just looking at it. And there is a mark, let me mark that, up here somewhere where I definitely know it's unremovable. Continue moving around the car naturally as if the camera's not here. If I've got something to say, I'll say it. A bit of live discussion. Business discussion if needs be, if I think of something, but you're gonna just see me organically morph into going from panel to panel. I did mark an area here. So obviously I have walked around the car privately, and I have in my head for now kind of know where the deeper marks are. This being one of them, and when I hit it, I'll just mark it, and then yeah, see if we can do anything. As I said, my goal is to remain, you know, within a certain limit. So if there is a certain line or mark that I can't remove, I'll live with it. 17-year-old, and I want to have the potential to potentially polish it next year, like a refining polish, just to give it more gloss. I don't want to take too much clear off. To build some okayish heat. I hope the camera's picking this up. Again, if the haze is there, but just look, one-handed, compound. Oh, when this eventually starts nearing the end of its development, kind of cycle, and of course, whenever we're fully happy, you guys are going to be extremely pleased. The main goal for anybody who does watch this and takes this as a how-to video or an educational video, first of all, thank you so much. I'm glad, you know, my content is of value to you. But if you do look at what I'm doing, you've got to notice certain key traits that I do. Again, whether you pick them up or not is up to you. But it's just what I found has worked for me. I've tried the traditional crisscross X shapes, Y shapes, and I believe this works best for me. Now, the reason I'm paint correcting this, the most obvious being because the previous owner or owners haven't taken care of it. That's the most obvious one. But also, even though this car is not, you know, that typical value of people think, oh, I'm going to protect a 50 grand, 100 grand car plus, obviously. It's a thing for me, you know. To whatever, even if we had a 200 pound car, it's nice to ride in something that you personally take care of. I think it's a personal mentality, you know. That's why personally I, you know, I try and dress as well as I can, you know, try and, you know, look after myself, look after the things that I have. That is just the ethos, well, one of the founding foundations of the business, you know. Never settle for the kind of average things in life. Now, what you see here, again, another one of our developments. This is an alcohol-based panel wipe. I'm just making sure everything's there that I want to remove. I'm just doing a cross-check. Now, alcohol-based, it doesn't end there. We've added a few citrus extracts. Now, what does citrus have to do with alcohol? We want to give it a more aggressive bite now. Take the word aggressive as a pinch of salt, if I'm honest. It's not aggressive as in you're going to put it on your car, it's going to start bleeding red. The citrus will act as a deeper cleanser, and it's all about reducing the amount of wipe times. You know, some weaker IPAs, you may have to hit the car twice, 3 times maybe, but this, you know, being quite strong, so a lot of alcohol, a lot of citrus extracts, it just gets into the pores and removes as much oils and anything else that's potentially left behind before you start getting into your final stages. Nice. You know what? I love polishing, but only for my own cars. I remember back in the day doing this as a professional. And even though we still cherry picked the cars the best we could, because otherwise we'd have triple, quadruple bookings for the one slot. It was, which cars do we want in here? But even then, it was a slog. Everybody's on a time frame, everybody wants it on a certain time, which is normally 4 hours. And when you tell them it's going to take 6 to 7 days, everybody used to have a heart attack. So, yeah. Now, I've got no time requirements and I'm happy. It's like there's a big mark, actually, it's the weirdest thing. So it goes from here and it goes into this plastic trim. I mean, what the hell was that? It's like there. It's the size, well, that's the size of the damage. So, of course, you can't polish plastic, unfortunately. So that's always going to be for life, and I'm not chasing this one. It's the second time I've hit it. We've reduced it off, of course, going to some heavy lighting. Let's change the spectrum, there we go. A bit of daylight, yeah, it's less visible in daylight, but you put it onto cool and you open it up a bit more. So this is a custom cut 2-incher. As you can see, it slightly overlaps on the back end. Where it is, there it is, if you can see it. There's a slight overlap, which is what I want. So I've got a bigger pad to a bigger pad than a backing plate. This is just one of my methods. It slows down the rotations because the backing plate's moving something that's slightly heavier. So this is my little edge runner machine. So you could do an LHR 15 here, a 3 here. Obviously you can use a 3 for the whole thing on the big stuff, but here, especially there, you can still use a 3-inch, but I just don't want to hit too many trim pieces because the cleanup's a little bit harder. So I totally forgot as well, I forgot to bring the heat gun in. So these again debadged, so GTIs go in, Lupos go in. Obviously we'll compound polish probably tomorrow or the day after. Well, in fact, I'll bring it in tomorrow to take these off. But for now, obviously, as you can see, it's starting to actually take shape piece by piece. But while I've got the opportunity, all these edge pieces, I take a very conscious effort to remove where I can. Again, as you can see, don't forget this car is a keyed entry, right? So over time, you know, when you get nail marks here, key marks, bang, 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 over so many years, some stuff is just took paint off. So I'm not saying it's bad, but some stuff is just not worth chasing. So I'm going to do an edge run here. Whew, that builds heat quick. Jeez. You saw me coming kind of leftwards a little bit and then back into it because I'm kind of bouncing around the defects. I don't want to just polish this one edge because all the heat and the aggressiveness is gonna, obviously, that's where it's focused, but it's gonna be built up here so fast and you'll just take the paint off. So I come left a bit, let the fan almost of the pad and the time kind of semi-cool this panel and come back in. So I'm doing like a bounce over method. I am causing my own haze, but that is exactly what I want to see. My own haze I'm not worried about. Ooh. Some parts worse than others, but that's fine. It's the name of the game for me. As long as I don't see scratches, I see hazing, couldn't care less. Because the next step is where the magic really happens. I'm leaving the roof to last because trust me, oh my God. So I think a part of this car has been sprayed, 100%, and it's been done by Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles put together. I think the defects are under the clear. It's hazy as hell. More than likely, it's had, I don't know, maybe something got dropped on the roof and then just resprayed it. Really, really bad job. I'm leaving it to last. I just whipped out the LHR 15 just to do try to do a mow down method, see, you know, if like really, really aggressive polishing is going to do anything. Obviously it makes it shinier and you're removing the swirling, but the orange peel, I don't know how much our camera's picking up here, but Jesus wept. It's not good. So in time it may get a respray from me. In fact, in time it will get a respray from me, but now is not the time to worry about it because I'm going to polish it the best I can, protect it the best I can, and then I'll probably hand it over to my boy Reese, and hopefully he'll do some magic on it. So that's the state of affairs right now. A little bit of heat, obviously, making friction's fine. You don't want to absolutely bake the panel because it's going to start flexing the clear and it'll give you false readings almost. Visual readings anyway. So, oh yeah, baby. Is that camera going to pick that up? Probably not when it's so bright here, but I'm getting there, piece by piece. In fact, if I could, I would polish it with the 2-inch pad. It's beautiful, so much maneuverability, so much control, hardly any bog down. But yeah, I will be here for 14 years, not 14 months. I've polished the rear lights. They were easy. Well, I've compounded them, a little bit of haze again, but I took a lot of red off. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to see with that, but again, this is the art of blowing the pad out. Probably not, but there is a little bit of red in here. But if you are blowing pads all the time, it obviously removes that kind of contamination that you are picking up. And then one thing I have noticed about this car as well is, because it's so old, because it's clearly not been ever polished before, that much is obvious to me. I can see, you know, when I took the trim pieces off here for the roof rails, you can just tell, especially edge work, that it's been neglected. But what is obvious to me because of this fact is when I am doing the compounding stuff, the microfiber pad, because like I said, everything's porous, it's going deep into the pores, and forget scratch removal because that's just a byproduct of what we're doing here. I noticed on certain panels, whether it's high, low, sometimes the pads, obviously over many passes, it's starting to brown a little bit. And that's not because it's picking up tar, because I checked. It's because it's almost picking a little bit of oxidation. So you know that like really, really ingrained dirt that even clay and all those things will not kind of remove during the decon stages, but the pad is really acting like that exfoliate to the paint. So it's not very often I see it, so I could do this whole spoiler and it won't do anything, but on this roof, for example, when I get the 15 back out, it may start here just picking up stuff because a lot of stuff's been landing in it over the years. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, like I've always said, I don't know if there's any like OG viewers here from like day one, but if you are one of those viewers, you will hear me say this a lot, that the most important stage of a paint correction is of course the cutting. Now, people say, well, of course, but what I mean by that is if you can chase that nth degree of correction and potentially cause a little bit more hazing. People sometimes think, well, you make more work for yourself on the final stages, but if you use the right the right finishing polishes, so in our case, our development being a much higher cut than your traditional 1 out of 10, this being 4, 5, 6 out of 10, depending on how you use it. But if we do use it in the manner that I'm going to use it on the next episode, so if you use it at the 6 out of 10 type of strength and kind of manipulate the polish in the right way, any hazing that you do make will of course be removed. Now, if you do say, imagine obviously the torch is the scratch or a cluster of scratches and you're like, I can't be arsed. The problem that you're going to get is when you finally wipe the car down, blow the potential compounding dust off. Luckily for us, we've worked on something that doesn't dust. And then you start polishing and you find this cluster of scratches. You've got to get your machine back out and start doing spot corrections. Making more dust, you're always going against yourself. You can, imagine this could take 3 days, 4 or 5 days, who knows? If the correction is done correctly, how I'm doing it, really kind of taking the time, the refining could be done within 6 hours, 8 hours, so basically 1 day's work, super quick. So it's, an 1/8 and 1/10 of the time on the refining stage. And it's the most enjoyable stage then because you don't have to keep kind of cross-checking. That's why I'm really cross-checking now, because I can, as you've seen, I've got a 2-inch pad. I can spot correct it really quick, and keep moving. It's definitely below the clear. Like these spots, but we'll tidy up best we can. When we get settled at our new place, get it fixed. Easy. An excuse, and add an excuse to repolish the roof. Starting to get warm, very warm. The shame is, oh dear. So I'm removing perfect paint correction. It's these stupid white spots. It's smooth though, that's what I mean. It's either a clear failure, no, it's not clear coat failure. I'll rephrase that. It's either imperfections in the clear or imperfections when they went to spray it. But I've never seen anything like this. It's like really fine dots everywhere. But it's now really shiny with a few white dots. So in comparison, I'm looking, there's a strobe of light here and I'm moving. It's like you're going from gray to red. I could try to wet sand this out, but I just know that probably the paint job on this roof hasn't been done to the best of their ability, so why try to patch a hole in something that's already kind of sinking? I'd rather not patch the holes and patch the whole thing. 'Cause, 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 don't know how much of that you can see, unless my eyes are going funny, but if you look, there is just a slight discoloration. I don't know if that picked it up at all. And that's literally exactly what I was talking to you about. It's just picking up those extra really embedded contaminants. And that thing that's just kind of like years of dirt. That has just been unfortunately stuck in the pores. Like I said, this car was in a garage when I first introduced this car to our little stable. It was in the garage for 5 years. Did about 120, 130 miles in those 5 years. So imagine all that crap landing on the car and just kind of sitting there and not being touched. Well, not mold, but kind of like the humidity and the damp. That's the word I'm looking for. And the dampness would have just really set in. It's so weird. I've got like a spot of perfect paint there. I may need my little edge runner. Yeah, just my little one. A little bit, just to really hammer it down. Yeah, beautiful, that's gone. Right, so I'm going to finish off this part, obviously move around to where you guys are watching me from. The paint correction will be done. Yes, I have got multiple of these shirts. So it looks like I've literally slept here for the last a few days, but paint correction is done. I will still, after I finish the roof, I am going to turn the lights off, look best I can with my little torch, and if there is, I know the big flat panels are done, but you know, if there is a little bit of an edge here, an edge there, I'm going to take the Flex PXC80, and I'm literally going to, it's probably going to, if there is anything, it might take me an hour just to really do any kind of spot corrections, and then I'm going to do something slightly different. Unfortunately, the windows on this car are going to have to get polished, so I'm going to whip out the LHR 15. I'm going to have to hit all the windows, and then I'm going to have to wet sand the two front big headlights because they're completely dead. So I'm going to do all of that before the refining process, because if there is any dust, especially off the windows, obviously I'm going to be wet sanding, there's going to be stuff running down the front grille. I want to do all of that first, and then if there is any dust, if I do kind of pick up a bit of dust and I wipe it, and there's like a scratch or something, I don't know, but potentially I can do all the heavy, dirty work almost before I go on to kind of all the pretty things. So I will see you all very soon for either the glass polishing or the wet sanding on the headlights, whichever one I decide, but I will see you soon, guys.